So let's say that the first chakra is red ray, and that is the foundation. This would be the equivalent of if you're going to make a house, you have to pour concrete. It's the foundation. Nothing can be built upon. You can't have a house until you do the foundation. So that's the foundation. It's the most important thing. And what happens is that you and I are more like, if you can imagine a tornado, a vortex of energy, okay? And what happens is that all the energy, everything is energy, everything is full of energy, and a lot of energy is just kind of hanging out there, not doing anything. And then it's like water without a drain, or if you're in a pool, your bathtub and it's full of water, it's just going to stay there until you pull the plug, and then what happens, right? You and I are like that drain. And so we pull energy into us like that, you see? We use it. And we get to, because we are God having an experience of being human, we get to use this energy. It's called intelligent energy, by the way. This intelligent energy, we get to use it to do whatever we feel like we need to do along our path. We have free will to do that. So all of this energy is coming in, and the first thing it does is it gets sucked in through the first ray. The first ray is about, will I survive this? It's about survival. And it's like, do I need to eat? Check. What about sleep? Check. What about roof over our head? I mean, all these things. And everything that we experience, everything that comes at us, every second, the first thing that we measure it, and it's automatic, so we don't think about it, is, will I survive this? So think about, for example, if I have a fight with somebody about a check, or something like that, without even thinking about it, the first question I have is, will my self-esteem survive this? Will my ego survive this? Everything is about, will I survive this? If the answer is yes, then we move on to the next stage of consciousness, and it's a little bit more expanded. So the first one was like this, now it's like this. The ring is a little bit more wide. And the next question that you're going to process through the catalyst coming at you, all this energy coming, and the energy is coming all the time. But what catalysts are is anything that assaults your senses, anything that comes at you for an experience. Like right now, you and I are giving each other catalyst by having this conversation, you see. Everything is catalyst. Getting bad service at a restaurant is catalyst. What are you going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like the question is what are you going to do about it? And to the degree that we handle it, however we handle it, is an indicator about pretty much where we're at. So the orange chakra, if you take your 3 fingers and you put it like your first finger just below your navel, your third finger would be where your second chakra is. That's called the orange ray. And the orange ray center, the second chakra, that is responsible for who you are with Douglas. It's your source of identity. Who am I? And this is also the source of your inner power. It's like a volcano. Think of a volcano. Like if this is the root of the volcano, the actual mountain, then this is the fire that comes up. Does that make sense? The power, the passion. All of that is your second chakra. And it is going to be asking the question of, who am I in this situation? So, yes, I'm going to survive it. Now, who am I? I'm the survivor of this. Or I am Douglas, who's getting really pissed off at this person. And I'm pissed, and I'm going to win. It's like, but it's always a question of who am I? So a lot of people who have problems with anger and things like that, the issue is going to be related to their second chakra. Most humans have the blockage at the second chakra. The second chakra, so you can even think of it as a log jam. If you can just picture like an X over the second chakra, because we'll have a like if there's a rio and we have a lot of logs in the rio, but they start to get jammed. Think of it that way, log jam.
Que está lleno de ramas y todo atorado.
Exacto, y todo atorado, exacto.
El agua no pasa.
Right, it's not efficient.
No está fluyendo.
Yeah. So the log jam for most human beings, which the law of one calls bellicosity, the attitude of bellicosity. Bellicosity, no sé si bellicosidad, quizás en español, significa agresividad. Agresividad, querer tener una guerra, querer ganar. And what the law of one says is actually the fear of possession, the fear of someone conquering you, violating you, or the desire to violate somebody else. I don't mean like violar in the sentido de rape. I mean like...
agresión.
Yeah, yeah. That takes place mostly in the second chakra. I'm going to win, but I have a fear that I'm going to lose, and I ain't going to lose, so I'm going to fight till I can win. You feel that? It's a blockage.
Pues viene mucho de fear también, ¿no?
Oh, it's all fear.
All fear, oh.
Yeah, it's fear. It's fear of who am I if I'm a loser? It's a fear of all these things around me who I feel like are competing for resources, and I don't want to be a loser, so I'm going to attack so I'm not losing. But it's a fear, and then it's an aggression. And all of that is called bellicosity in the law of one.
Sí, bélico.
Bélico, exacto. Now, and now think about this. If you want to know something really cool, remember umbilico?
Ombligo, sí.
Comes from the same word, bélico.
Bélico, sí.
It's the same
Entonces,
word.
Cuando estás en el segundo chakra y estás atorado,
yeah.
Ya viviste, vas a sobrevivir, pero ahora significa de my identity.
That's right.
No puedo perder esto porque se me...
I might live,
lose my identity.
but I don't know who I really am. It's very fragile. Who I think I am is a winner, and I am not going to lose. I haven't defined myself beyond the win and lose situation. You know what I mean? And then if the blockage is here, then that means that's where the problem is. But a little bit of water in a rio, okay, is going to get to the third chakra. The third chakra is 3 fingers above, so it's right here, okay? And the 3 fingers above, this is about who I am in community, who I am in society. So, soy mexicano, así son los mexicanos. Or la energía americana, those are the United States. That's how they are. This is that culture. And who am I in relationship with my wife, with relationship with my job? It's like, who am I in my formal relationships and who am I in my informal relationships? But regardless, it all feeds back to who am I? So we don't know who we are until we are connected with other people, right? That's how we define ourselves, is in relationship. But our relationships with others, our conflicts or our harmony, that's the third chakra. And then that informs the second chakra. So for example, the energy comes up, goes to the first chakra. Am I going to survive? Yes. Who am I? Okay, Douglas. Coming up to who is Douglas in this conflictual situation? But because the blockage is right here in the second chakra, there's going to be, it's going to go back. It's going to circle back because the energy here is going to be basically circling back to the first one. Who am I now in this fighting situation? I'm Douglas, who's now fighting with this guy. It's going to circle back. Am I going to survive this next higher altercation conflict? I'm Douglas. I'm fighting this person, and then it just keeps circling. That's the energy, the closed circuit of bellicosity.
Entonces por eso puedes engancharte en un conflicto y no te sales porque empiezas a
no te sales.
Sobrevivo, quién soy, tengo que tener mi lugar o mi identidad en el grupo, entonces no te sueltas y empiezas
But here's the problem. If I do win, if I beat this guy, legally, like through the legal, like Trump, or if I beat someone up to, with my fists, either way, I'm going, from this lower chakra perspective, I'm going to interpret winning as you losing. In order for this to work out well, I have to win and you have to lose. And so what's going to happen is that from now on, I may end up earning a lot of money. Because the whole economic system is based on competition, Well, a lot of it is. But so what's going to happen is I'm going to apply this now well-run engine, and it's just cycling the same closed circuit of energy. And I'm going to put that into everything I do. Win, lose business, win, lose legal, win, lose with my relationship. And the more that I win, the more I learn how to do it. If I have to beat somebody up verbally, I'm going to do it because that's what works. You see? And that is, you take that, and it's true for one person, and it's true for 8 billion people. Because if you have an entire human population that learns how to win and identify itself by me against you or us against them, if I learn that, then even success, even if we're the richest country in the world, is still going to be defined by the lower triad, the lower blockage. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so even cultures can be created out of win-lose. Because this is one of the things that the Law of One says that I think is really true. They say that a person who has activated the green ray, that's the heart. The green ray is the heart. Mm-hmm. See what happens. How do we activate that? Well, you do this enough, the lower chakra, triad, and you realize, you know what? Even if I win, I'm still losing. Even if I win, I've just isolated people. Or maybe I've watched other people play that game and I don't want to do it. There's got to be a different way.
I win in a second, but I feel horrible because...
I feel horrible, and I'm tired of the cycle. It's too much energy. So what happens is that the only way to get to the heart is through surrender. You have to surrender to the fact that your identity, my identity that I have defined myself for all of my life so far, has been based on my floating self, my false self. The games of the false self, power, prestige, and possessions. And I've defined myself with this way, and maybe I really don't know who I am. And so you get to a point in your life where you don't want to go back and repeat the same games as always, but you don't exactly know where to go. So you're in that liminal space right here, that liminal space in the middle between the old room and the new room. And usually it's like great confusion. The movement into the green ray. Now, most people will have times in their life where they go to the green ray, where they feel connected to another human being after maybe good conversations, times sharing, could be sexual, but sometimes even in nature, it's like you can have moments of being in this green ray where everything fits, everything is love, and I understand, I see things more holistically now. But for most people, those are states, but they're not stages. Stages are permanent. States are like, I'm going to put my tent here, but I got to take it and go back home. We're going to go camping. That's a state. Versus I'm making my house on this block, and here's the house. That's a stage. So most people's stages are still down here in the lower chakra, and they have occasional states of the heart. But let's say somebody who is learning how to more or less stay in their heart, and that they become green ray activated. All right? They are actually really, really vulnerable. Very vulnerable. Because they don't want to play by the old rules. They look weak, and maybe they're even judging themselves as weak. But they don't know what it looks like to move forward. Am I going to be like this, like a pushover all of my life? And and here's the thing, what the Law of One says is that for a person who is only green ray and not moved up to the blue ray, the person who's only green ray, they are ineffectual. I mean, Ross says this twice in the Law of One. Ineffectual in the face of somebody else who has significant blockage, because the what's going to happen is that the rules in green ray, when you're in green ray, you recognize the rules don't work. It's in effect, I'm not going to do it. But you don't know yet how to balance love and wisdom. So what ends up happening is people who are in green ray, they end up making lots of mistakes, like martyr complex, the martyr, where like women, for example, is like, oh, I'm going to change this guy. I'm going to help this guy. The guy might be super machista and blocked in his lower chakras, but I feel called to help him, So it's good at first, but then after a while, it's like that gravity always pulls the person who was green ray now is down here into the lower chakras. Yeah. So what ends up happening is that many green ray people end up becoming very disillusioned. They become angry and they move back into the lower chakras without knowing it. But they're bitter people. They're angry people. And they keep getting imposed upon, violated, by people who are lower chakras. And what's interesting is that...
Te bajas, entonces estos están tan fuertes que cualquier cosa sientes que te están push you down.
That's right.
Entonces you feel even worse.
And what's really weird, what's strange is when you're in the green ray, you want to help because you feel such a freedom. Do you understand? I feel so free. Let's stop doing the power, prestige, and possessions. I feel so free. So you want to help people. But who are you going to help? You're not going to help other green ray people. And the people that are blue ray and indigo ray, they don't need your help. Who are you going to help? You're gonna help the people that are blocked because that's where you see the need. But and the people that are blocked, they're going to see in you without even knowing it because it's going to be really low here on the unconscious, the iceberg way down here. They're going to see in you a savior, or like, okay, this person is mi ángel. This person is like the flor del desierto, and so I'm going to be attracted. So there's an attraction. The helper wanting to help the ones that need the help. And the ones that need the help see the helper as somebody who can help them get into the green ray. But because they don't recognize their self, they don't recognize their blockage, their logjam, and the green ray person is not wise enough, they're going to end up coming by just gravity, spiritual gravity, going to be pulled into that compact logjam of the lower chakra, which mostly takes place, as I said, in orange ray, which is who am I? Okay. And actually what I was trying to do right there is because one of the things you have to understand is that when a person is in green ray, the door to blue ray is only right over there. So think of it this way. I want you to think of it this way. The first, second, and third floor, we're going to call them floors in the edificio, okay? They are really, really rough. Very difficult to go up and down. And when you get to the top, it's slippery, and then it's easy, and you fall back down to the first floor. And, so I mean, it's like a real big work just to get to the third. And then people slide back down because it's raining constantly. It's just raining catalysts all the time. And screw them. They're trying to beat me on this, and I'm going to win, and blah. So it just keeps getting trapped.
Sí, cualquier comentario, cualquier cosa que la oficina, que el señor que dijo,
yeah,
todo
all of that is like a rain, hail and rain. You know what I mean? Just coming at you. Now, once you can get into the green room, we're going to call it the green room. I want you to picture right now in your mind like a beautiful, big, huge room, spacious. It's all beautiful, like green, emerald green, plants just everywhere. Green, you're just like, oh my God, I could stay here. It's just, I want you to picture like how beautiful that would be, okay? And way over, and by the way, in the green room, you feel a sense of, oh my God, I never want to go back to the mud rooms. This is great. And I got to go tell everybody in the mud rooms that this thing exists. A green ray person can invite the people in the mud rooms, but you can't pull them by hand, and that's the mistake a lot of them, because you try to pull them and they end up falling back in. You understand what I'm saying? But once you're in the green room, here's what happens. I want you to picture like it is even. There's no climbing. It's just beautiful, and it's here you understand things. I want you to picture like on the walls, there's projections of Okay, here's Guillermo when he's angry, but all of a sudden you're able to see like he's angry because this happened to him and he's having these experiences. Oh my gosh, now I see Guillermo in like a more holistic light. I get it. And over here, me too. I can see why I've struggled in the mud rooms for so long, because all of a sudden it's like, well, snap. My mom was this way, and her mom, and oh, now I get it. I don't have to hate on anybody. And I want to tell everybody down here what this is like. But if you look really far in el fondo, in the back, you're going to see a beautiful like blue door. That's the blue room. And all it does is you have to walk all the way across in order to open up. You have immediate access to go into the blue room. You understand? But a lot of people don't, because they're so excited about this huge espacio that they want to go and tell their people and like throw down some rope and it's like, come on up here. But they're not ready because they're still fighting the fight and falling. And so they're going to be pulling, and it's going to be like, 500 people against one who's in a tug of war. And you're going to get pulled down there, you understand, without even knowing it. Or maybe you'll always have like, I have a dream to get back up there. I'm going to bring all these people with me. Now, once you get into the green room and you walk across to the blue room is so amazing. I mean, I want you to think of, it's not just a floor. Now it's like an entire mansion. It's just beautiful sky blue, and it's so free. But it's lonely because there's not a lot of people in there, all right? But here in the blue room, you're able to say, yes, and. Yes, I will do that, and no, I won't do that. Or, I love you, but I'm also going to put these boundaries, and I'm not going to be with you right now because of the way you're acting. I'm not leaving, but I do not want to put myself in this room. I'm not going to put myself in the mud room. So you go and do the mud room, and I'll be here. And when you're ready, I will be ready to go to our thing, whatever we're going to do tonight. But I'm not going to get all muddy because, look at this blue dress. It's pretty awesome. You see what I'm saying? When you're in the blue room, you learn that things look totally different. All perspective, all of life from down here. You look at everything on how the rooms that got you to where the blue room is. And you look at everything and you think, I accept it all. I accept it all. And I'm going to spend the rest of my time on earth not trying to change people. Because I've already tried that when I was in the green room. And do I have to spend any more time? No. Because it's like, why would you do that? In the green room only. But now in the blue room, you have the green ray ability to love and see holistically. But here in the blue room, you learn that you have a huge computer in front of you. See, in the green room, there was nothing there. There was all it was is like you just receiving all this information, because you could see things holistically on the walls that were projected on the walls, let's say. But you couldn't do anything. The only thing you could do is to go back into the mud rooms and throw a rope down. But you tried that a million times and it never worked. You always had to fight to get back up. Mm-hmm. So anyways, now you're in the blue room. You actually look and you say, oh my God, I have the ability to change the environment out there. Because there's a big old state-of-the-art computer, let's say, in front of you. And the big old state-of-the-art computer in front of you means that you actually have the capacity to create programs, to write. Let's say that you're a genius at a computer programming. So you have the capacity to write computer programs, not to change reality, because that's not your job. Your job, though, is to write computer programs a little bit here and a little bit there, just to kind of tweak a few things here and there in the whole macro level, because you realize that you do want to give to the world a sense of love and understanding. But you now know it takes a lot of time. everybody's on a different pace. You have to surrender to process. And if you just tweak a few things here and a few things there without needing people to be at your level, you can actually love people in the mudroom, especially, even more. I mean, with a real love, even romantically, without needing them to change. Because you have no more need to fight.
But will you have a true connection?
Of course.
Can you do that?
Yeah. And you won't need them to match you either. You will have a true connection. But you don't need their approval. You don't need them to be on your thing. If you're a niño and someone loves you holistically, even if you've grown up we know this from psychology. I think I might have mentioned to you the resiliency, how to help people, how to help kids in really, really bad situations. If they meet somebody and have 10 minutes only of true, deep, very deep connection with that adult, where that adult says, I see you. And even in that 10 minutes, there's a deep connection of like seeing and full acceptance and love and like wisdom and affirming that person where they're at, even if it's just 10 minutes long, that can be enough. That one encounter can be enough to change their entire life because they had an encounter at least once in their life of depth and full acceptance.
That's fine.
Yeah. And you don't need them to see things differently because you've been pulled down back into the old room, back into the mud room so many times. And you can say, I see that you have free will. And you get to choose your free will. I hope you choose well, because it looks like you're hurting yourself. But I'm not going to change my identity. Whether you make it or not, is not really going to make me feel different about myself. Just to give you a side note on that, there are some times when I'm dealing with adolescents here, and I know most adolescents are still just, because it's appropriate to be in the lower triad, because you got to figure out who you are and who you are in society and all that. It's very appropriate. But if I get some tough ones there and they see me, because I know they're projecting on me like another authority that I have to, just like my parents and my teachers, that I have to live up to, and I'm going to disappoint this one too. So I can feel the resistance. You know what I tell them? I don't do this with everyone, but sometimes I'll say, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, before we get started, whether you succeed or not in here, like whether you come in here and you get something or not, or whether your life gets better, like I really want it to happen for you and I care for you, but I don't think about you in between sessions. I go to sleep just fine at night. If you do great because if we're meeting together, I'm happy, but I don't think about your success or failure outside of this room. So it's all on you, whether you want it. So I'm going to be fully engaged. I will be in it with you in this room. I want you to do well, but know that if it's a pass or fail with you and you don't change or move in a different direction, it kind of doesn't bother me either way. And I still love you. And I will be here. Now, when we get into the Blu-ray, and this becomes a more permanent stage, if you get pulled in for some reason down into the mud rooms, the longer you have spent in the blue room, the quicker you can get back there, because it's going to be, okay, wait a minute, right now I am in my floating self. Maybe I need to be in my floating self for a little bit, but I know how to get back into my anchored self. So maybe what used to hurt a lot now is like, instead of a day of being pissed, it might be an hour. See, that's the thing, is that the reason why it's a little bit hard to walk across the floor to get to your blue room when you're in the green room is that you think that you have to teach those that are still in the mud rooms. You have to teach them how to be in the green room. And peace for you is to where you can say, but you go do you. If you need to fight because your self-esteem is at stake and you're still trying to work out your identity, and if that's important for you, okay, vete a jugar, but I don't have to watch it, and I don't have to participate, and I'm not gonna. When you're in the green room and you realize how spacious it is, okay, and you want people to come into that in the mud rooms, you throw the rope down, and then you get pulled out and into the mud, and then you have to kind of come back in, all muddy and whatnot. And you do that enough, it's like, oh man, I don't want to do that anymore. So then what happens though is if you're not careful, what happens is that you're not going to be throwing the rope anymore to pull people up. What ends up happening is that people in the mud rooms are going to throw the rope up to you.
Those that are ready. Mm-hmm.
No, well, because they want to connect with you, they're attracted to the green ray, but if you pull on it, you might get pulled back in. So what ends up happening is when you're in the blue room, they may throw the rope up, but you will have the power, in the blue room, you will have the power to decide what is the motivation of them throwing up the rope. You're not going to throw the rope down to them anymore because you don't want to be pulled from that. So you're not going to try to fix them or change them because that's never worked. It won't. And you realize I'm not responsible for your reactions. I'm responsible for mine. And so they're going to throw the rope though. They want you to be on their side when they're fighting. You see. So they're going to throw the rope up. And you're going to be able to discern whether that throwing of the rope that is landed at your feet, whether it is a sincere desire to get into the green room because they're really tired. It's really coming from a place of surrender. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, it won't be you picking up the rope. It'll be Christ in you. Picking up the rope because somebody else was Christ to you pulling you up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It'll be you and Christ in you pulling up the rope and that come into the green room. But you can also discern whether that rope's coming up and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is another opportunity for them to want me to fight their battles, be on their side. And I know if I pull on this, I'm going to get tugged right back in, and I'm not going to. So in the blue room, you can discern the motivation behind the people in the mud room throwing the rope. Does that make sense? You understand that? Yeah. In the green room, anytime they throw up the rope, it's like, oh, you're ready. Oh, and then you get yanked back in. But in the blue room, you have the ability to say, okay, wait a minute. I can tell that throwing of the rope was something I want to respond to because it's real. But all the other times, you just want me to come back in. And I have to be honest though, in the blue room, I said it and I'll say it again, it's kind of lonely. It's about my ego. The better I am at saving people and so on and so forth, the better I am, better Christian or better counselor, whatever it is. But it's power, it's prestige, and it's possessions. I have another saved person under my belt, you know? Mm-hmm. In the blue room, you don't keep score. You don't care. You don't care. You learn to be alone, but you don't have to be lonely.
Content, right?
You can be alone, but you don't have to be lonely. Mm-hmm. And the reason why you can be alone is because you already feel connected. You see, the blue room is built upon the foundation of getting into the green room. The green room is the feeling, the heart feeling of being in love with God. It's devotional. It's like I've had an encounter of love. Love has changed me. This is, for example, what Christianity is called being born from above, because the energy is not either or black and white where you can't hold any paradoxes together. The energy in the green room is both and. It's paradoxes are held together. I'm both whole and I'm hurting. And it's okay. And I don't have to get rid of the hurting because this part is how I got here into wholeness. The blue has no problems of being alone. It might feel lonely every now and then, but mostly it doesn't, because you're already connected to Source. You're connected to God. You're seeing things from God's point of view a lot. You know what I mean? And God is all about giving people their freedom. Like if you want to keep hitting your head, I mean, I hate it. I hate that you're doing it. It makes me sad that you are hurting yourself. But I'm going to respect you enough to give you that free will, because that's my greatest gift for you, is free will. And then hopefully you hear and follow the sounds of love, and you move in from the cold, muddy, lower rooms into the heart, to the green ray. But once you get into the blue ray, then you have that ability. Now, the indigo ray, that's there's quite a bit of climbing that has to happen. It's not hard climbing. There's not a lot of rain and stuff like in the mud rooms. But the blue ray, you know, it's a lot of climbing. It's tough. You have to be very determined to get to the top of that. The indigo, because the indigo is where you learn not only how to be a co-creator and give, make computer changes in the program out there, but you end up, coordinating lots of different types of programs. You learn how to do this reality pretty well, the third density space-time, what we consider this reality, but you're also learning how to do like astral realm, and you can do, and none of it is paranormal, because it's all normal inside a cosmic body, and you're awake in that now. And that feels like a suffering, feels like such a loss. But they don't realize that if I say yes to the love, I actually realize that everything that I've ever learned has got me to this moment of consummation, of total surrendering into unity, the unitive consciousness of the great heart of the one infinite creator. Wow. Because from the perspective of wholeness, from the perspective of light and love and wholeness, nothing is wasted. Everything belongs. Even all of my faults, even all of my shadows.
I was telling you yesterday, no, you know what? Even Hitler or Trump,
That's
everyone is going to be having this opportunity.
That's right. Either now or later. There's no one lost. There's no eternal hell. Because we are God having this experience. And in unity, which is the name of God's job, to be union and unity, there is no fragmentation. All things are reconciled. One great thing about being a therapist is that people don't come to me when they're just doing great, usually. People usually have come to some level of, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I've tried to live this lower mudroom thing for however long, or my kids. I don't want my kids they're suffering. Me. So ironically, the suffering of somebody else, great love, when I see them suffer, is my own suffering. Well, that's green ray. That's parents who are in their lower chakras that are stuck, and they're here, and they don't even know that they're entrapped. If their kid comes to them with legitimate reasons by saying, I'm really anxious or I'm really depressed, those parents cannot hear that. Because
it's about me. Who am I?
They're connected to their orange ray, which is all about who am I. They will think immediately.
I failed.
It'll be a threat.
What the public's going to think about me.
That's right. It's not you don't even know what depression is. You don't even know what sadness is. Don't tell me. You didn't have to live my life. My life and so you can't you're not depressed. I've worked so hard to get this family the way it is. You will not repay me by telling me this is depression or anxiety. And really being a mirror. See, the more that you are in your blue ray and indigo ray here, the more that you realize your actual main job with other people, because you know yourself so well. See, the mud room is dried and it's beautiful now, okay? So you're getting like full, there's no more logjam. Everything's just coming straight through. And then your heart, like you see people almost instantly from a sense of like holistic stuff, you see? And then you get into these areas, the upper rooms, and you're so much more streamlined. When you're in those rooms, you are able to almost immediately sense what the other person needs, where they're blocked, what would help them, what wouldn't. And you really actually realize that you can't show them what they're not ready for, even though you know. So what you do is you actually become a mirror. And the more that you become into your indigo ray and really become like Christ-like, or Buddha-like or whatever, you are the mirror, crystal mirror, like a totally clean Windexed, mirror that the other person can see themselves in and see if they're hurting themselves or if they should be joyful when they're... Because can you cook a cake that takes 30 minutes to cook and just turn up the heat into like 400 degrees and then cook it for 5? Never works. So you understand everything's a process. And it took you a while to get to the 6th floor. You're going to respect somebody else And you're going to have the mirror, you're going to be a mirror, and you're going to say something like, you know, to be honest with you, you're hurting yourself. And it's sad that you have to feel like you have to do that. And here's how you're hurting yourself, A, B, C, D. But it's your choice. If you need to do that, you know, okay, I'm here. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. But I'm not going to like stand here and watch you hate yourself. You see what I'm saying? So that would be you being a mirror. In that moment, you are in your blue ray. Because blue ray, you are intentionally choosing, I love you, but I'm not going to make you do anything because I've already tried. I'm going to be a mirror with full compassion but boundaries. And you get to decide. See, that's a mirror. Good job.
Yeah, no, sí, yo me acuerdo que la reacción dije, wow. Sí, that's true. So it's a good thing about this mirror because, especially when you need to mentor, digo Guillermo, es que es como una responsabilidad que el planeta está así, te toca vivirlo, es como una mesa, tú tienes los jóvenes y te están empujando de la mesa, pues no, quítate, es mi mesa ahora, ya no es tu mesa, vete a la esquina, y tú, no, pero es que era mi mesa, yo manejaba la mesa, no, pero ahora la manejas diferente, ¿verdad? Porque tienes que estar allá, ellos tienen que voltear a ver, sí, entonces tu responsabilidad como el mentor, if you want to make this world a better place.
That's right.
If does that, you know, if you see Sophia, he says, okay, I have to do my part to be the mirror to hopefully these guys generationally think.
That's right. And here's the thing is, when you understand the metaphysics that I were talking about today, when you understand that more and more as true, then
it's a law.
It's a law. Like this is karma. This is what karma is. Because if you don't get it in this lifetime, don't worry. There is no eternal hell. You die, you get reborn on this planet or another planet, it doesn't matter, but it'll be third density again, and you'll get a chance to keep working on it. Like, okay, you didn't pass third grade, no problem. You know, you can be in it for as long as you need to be. You're not. But I'm just saying, like, you understand, like, there is no casting out of that.
Puede haber algo así que cuando estás más arribita un poco dices, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn it now. Here.
Well, here, I'm going to be honest with you, though, okay? This is just my belief. I could be wrong again. But when you start to really occupy the blue and indigo rays more, you actually don't even care. Because you realize your whole reason why you're here. I mean, now you start to look at, like, if I'm, you know, a little girl in Guatemala, you know, it's like, even all of that hard stuff was all so that I could be an instrument. Like I chose to be here at this particular time in this body with these issues so that I could be of the greatest service and give me the opportunity to wake up as fully as I possibly can. And I'm doing exactly that. I'm so grateful, even if I feel like I'm not very effective, you know, because I realize all the dreams and fantasies I had earlier of changing the world is like, it was naive. But I'm so grateful to be right here that I'm not even thinking about like, if I'm reincarnation or if I'm coming back or not, because it's like I'm so in the eternal now. I'm so in the moment right now. And the real adepts, the real positive adepts, learn to find their identity in the deep now, in the here, and your identity now is I am God, not in an egoic way. It's not like I am God and you're not. It's I'm God and we all are.
So and we are God, but it's not like God lives in us. It's we are God.
Both. Both are true. More for me, God is always the name of God is this. There's three things. It is the Trinity. The name of God is this. God transcends all things. So there's a layer of transcendence even in the idea that I am going to create. Like there's still a layer that God is still asleep at. You know, I mean, it's still a transcendence there. Like even around the light, there's darkness. Mm-hmm. Not darkness, black and evil, but more of like unexplored. That transcends even the light. And then God eternally transcends, just like you are the God of your cells. There's a layer above us that transcends and includes us, and that's true infinitely. 2, God eternally incarnates as things. So everything, every molecule, every atom, every plant, every you, every me, every negative being, every positive being, everything is God experiencing God's self God is experiencing God's self. The creator is experiencing what it means to be the creator through the unique particularity, singularity of that particular subatomic particle or that universe. Each thing is giving me, if I'm God, an experience of myself. And then God eternally indwells. There's always an area of a fountain. Everything has a fountainhead. Well, it's a mess if you're in the lower chakras. Mm-hmm. It feels like a mess because, it is kind of chaotic out there. But when you're in the heart or when you're in the higher chakras, the mess is sacred. Like the mess is itself a lesson, a school for us to learn through dealing with this mess in a loving way and learning how to set boundaries. You actually learn that, wow, just like God creates flow to create all of the stars, and there's a level of God that's in charge of that, let's say. I, Doug, am God in this particular level, okay, where I get to flow. I get to create flow that can help arrange things that are here so that they awaken to their own divinity. So for example, what the Law of One teaches is that when I'm loving on my kitty or my dog or even these plants, if you give them enough love and enough of your heart and yourself, you give them individuation. Like I'm calling my dog Frankie, her name is Frankie, and she knows herself as Frankie, and she knows herself in relationship to me. Do you know what happens? Is that they reach a certain level of self-awareness that the next time they incarnate, it won't be as a dog or it won't be as a plant. It'll actually be as a third density human. So third density humans can author life. Love calls unto love. Deep calls unto deep. And we can author life from second density. We individuate and they become third density beings. Just like higher densities pull on us and pull us into fourth density. Do you see how beautiful that is?